Hi, everybody. Turn this down just a little bit. Hmm. Okay, let's see if I'm on. Let's see if everything is working. Last night, remember, everything went crazy, and so I decided to go on this morning, and everything seemed fine. So I don't know if it's the internet. Let's see if everything, let's see, output. Um, let's see if I can everyone hear me? Let me see if, yep, it sounds like it. Let me go on and make sure. Thank you, everyone, for being so patient. Okay, testing. Yep, okay. Turn that down. I see myself. All right, so, okay, today is, this is part two of day 1139. And uh, day since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, after he went there, aspiring soldier, was part of Park University. Then they were deployed. He went to Qatar for about 10 months, came back. We have intel that he decided to do the internship there at CID through Park University. And so Park University plays a huge part in this. I know for a fact um, in Qatar, he was saying it's so bad. It's so bad. And he talked with Rob. I said, just talk to Dad. And Rob just said, you keep your head down, do your time, don't worry about it. Just do your time. Isn't that terrible? It's like they join the military to serve our country and it becomes like a prison and you have to do your time. Um, and keep your head down. That's what he told him. Keep your head down. Um, but when you see child sex trafficking, when you see weapons smuggling and equipment smuggling, when you see a lot of illegal activities, you see people getting raped, you see retaliation against whistleblowers, when you see narcotics trafficking, um, and it's right there. And, it could have been in with his roommates, it could have been that. Um, because it got so bad that he risked everything to, and this is something that we've talked about in our family. If Richard just saw some people smoking some pot, he wouldn't say anything. But if he saw them raping young children, pimping out young children, um, creating a criminal syndicate with uh, narcotics trafficking, um, abusing and betraying the American people by equipment smuggling, using these tactical move storage units on the American dime to move equipment, to move weapons, to move ammunition. If he saw human trafficking, these mostly women, if he saw that, if he was seeing things coming from the emergency intake center there on Fort Bliss, that absolutely, we have reports that it was so bad, and it was so bad that they shut it down now this year, just a few months ago. Um, and please, God, let it be because of what Team Farm Richard Halliday is exposing, right? Let us have at least a little impact to help these children, to help the service members, to help the El Paso community. And it has exposed so much. And it is even hard to digest everything that is being exposed. Like if you're just coming in to hear about Richard Halliday's case, and I'm talking about all these different things, it's so hard to digest and to understand it because it is just that big. I mean, it's gotten so big that we're now in communication with the IG of the Veterans Affairs. Okay. To investigate our son, his identity, his social security number. So, because we have reason to believe that his identity, his social security number, has been used and abused, has been forged, has been stolen identity. We have reason to believe, because we know from the beginning of this, people have taken Richard's identity. We know through the Interpol photo that they manipulated Richard's identity. Yeah, we're talking about Fort Bliss, law enforcement, giving a photo to Interpol and messing with his photo, photoshopping his photo, overlaying his photo. And is it a coincidence that when I put, really when we give it to a photo forensic, it comes back very low for Richard. It's clearly not Richard. All of the measurements on his face has been distorted or overlaid with another face. But when you put Dallas Hart's face in there, the numbers come back pretty high. The measurements seem to match up quite well. I don't know. I don't know if that's a coincidence. I leave that up to forensic experts like senior special agent Jessica Veltri at the Quantico CID. She has an impeccable CV and, highlights the forensics. And so that I leave that to her, and we'll see what happens. And then, of course, looking into Richard at the VA, the Inspector General needs to make sure at the VA that Richard's identity, Richard's social security, all that have not been tampered with, because our son's case is a botched case. It's a tampered case. Leaks, and leaks are intelligence. So all the files are intel coming out to unauthorized, right? We're authorized to have Richard's CPS complaints, the Child Protective Service complaints. We're authorized to have that. We've asked that through a FOIA. We can't get it, but Lolani Hart can get it. But James Hart can get it. Leilani Hart can get it through her extramarital affair with Tavita Nusa in the CID. Now, he's no longer there because he's lost his badge, he's lost his position, he's no longer in the military. But at that time, you have to understand we're at 3 years, so a lot has happened. But at the time, and of course, Richard's case started way before uh, July 23rd, 2020. It started before that. So, it's no accident that on the 22nd of July 2020, Leilani Hart felt the need, the pressure was there, in my opinion, to put in a notarized criminal complaint affidavit confession about her family's incest, about her family's sexual assault on a 7-year old with a 3-year old there. I think it was 3-year old. So much to you can go ahead and read it. I think they've taken it down though. But it is a notarized affidavit and it is pretty violent. It's pretty vulgar. It talks about child pornography. It talks about the threats, the illegal getting weapons illegally, and we have names. We have names. The names are coming out now who they receive these weapons illegally from. Um, that needs to be also looked at and seems to be connected with the Veteran Affairs. I'm telling you, this is so convoluted, so connected, everything. Connected with El Paso IG, connected with the VA, connected with Park University, connected with the Director of Emergency Services, that is also the Chief of Security of Fort Bliss, connected with the CID, connected with the MPs, connected with the command, connected with the command, connected with Delta Battery 143. We have names of those connected with the Tactical Move Storage Unit, connected with Van Buren Avenue, connected with now this, is it Shadow Mountain? It's a Patriot Shadow Mountain. Let me see if I have it here. American Patriots at Shadow Mountain Lake. Yeah. So that is interesting. I'll show a picture of it. See, I'm bringing it up. So here it is. And this is really intriguing for me because when I see stuff like this, these grids, that is always very intriguing for me. Because I love, yeah, it's up here. And what is around here, this lake here, this lake. This is a lake tank. You can't put your little person down there. This is a private owned, so you can't do it. And I don't even know if you can get out there because it's privately owned. A little building. You can see the size of it. The size of it is huge, huge. But this, we have intel, plays a part in our son's case. It's super intriguing. I would love to go out to this area. I don't think they would let me go out. I don't know what this must be, some kind of drain here, but because I love star forts because I love to. Oh, here's a little vehicle here, a yellow vehicle. Um, but that gives you an idea of the size of the area. That's what I'm trying to do. Um, some kind of tanks here, a little pump house, not so little, but some storage shed. Seems to be well built, doesn't seem to be junk, right? So I don't know what this is. Interesting. But see if I want to put a person down there, it doesn't do it. There's nothing. There's no roads that you can put a little person down. There's no photographs or anything like that. See, nothing. Is there anything? Nothing. Mm-mm. Sometimes there's a little blue dot and you can look. But this is supposed to be where evidence from Richard case could be found. So this is interesting. And it's veterans owned. Maybe the head of this group, what is his name? Could maybe he knows something, right? Maybe he knows something and can tell us what's going on there, right? Um, yeah. So, this with, of course, I know these areas. Um, because I've looked at these areas so much. If you're going to, if you're military and, here's this training area up here. This is Red Rio Range. So, let me go down again. See, so this is an ADA training area, and where one of our autopsies says that remains were found there, and there's other evidence. So go out. Here's Anthony. Anthony seems to be an interesting place also, and I mean, you could say that about all these places, right? They're interesting. They're interesting. But it's becoming more interesting because we have institutional support now. We have information that Lalani is being looked at by an agency. And of course, we have the request now for the IG of the VA to look into Richard. I think that is only right to do with all of the um, suspected wrongful activities to his file. We have a long history of. Good evening, Anicia. Good evening, Donna. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Patty. Thank you so much. But we have all this suspicion from the very beginning of misusing Richard, misusing his name, misusing his files, misusing this investigation in it. So we, are reaching out to any inspector general, to any and all institutions for the information. And so now, because it takes so long to figure out how everything works and to know who's who and to reach out, we're getting to. And plus, you also have to have the evidence, right? You have to have, even if it's just circumstantial evidence, you need to have some evidence to share with them why you want them to use the resources to look into this. Even though this is another thing our intel is giving us, that the numbers of resources, the figures in the monies are, I mean, unbelievable. And to be safe, we're getting $6 to $8 million that was allocated to cover up Richards. That's just on the civilian side. There's another two, well, 1,800,000 from the military side, and then of course 200,000 from um, the county of El Paso. So, this is the intel that we're getting. We have put in an open records request, so we're waiting for the real figures to come in. Why did we decide to look at this intel and share that with everybody? Because we absolutely know from experiencing this for 3 years that the monies must be, I mean, logically, going to the meetings, seeing who's there at the meetings, um, hearing what they were doing, um, speaking on the phone, all the people involved in this, the IG, the Park University, the whole law enforcement community, the VA there, and when you put all of and then of course the DA and the AG, everything that was going on in the background there with the FBI taking over the Richards case, and with Nadal Bayim, the FBI man, and at the Dollar General, and all of those investigations, and then everything that went on in Mexico, because we went to Mexico numerous times, numerous. I mean, I I need to go to my Google locator history, and I could tell you how many times we went over there because it pinpoints all of that. But we went over numerous times, and we had events with lawyers and with people and meeting people and doing this and doing that, paperwork and all the costs of that. Also the search, that's all suspicious now. The Kilometer 29 search, we did get money together to spend on that. That is all suspicious now because of the monies allocated for those kind of things in the intel that we have gotten. Um, so many things are making sense. And then the peoples, who are these people? Like, who's Corinne Adeline West that was going, talking sweet, but going behind our backs and spreading lies, saying that we knew where Richard was, or we're hiding Richard, or things like this, um, and trying to get these false narratives out there to stop, uh, or to be a hemshoe, right? To what my grandmother would say, to be an obstacle in the search for a missing soldier. Who would do something like this? This is a rotten person. This is I'm sorry. This is someone that's just up to no good, and callous. Absolutely callous. If you are trying to block the finding of Vanessa Guillen, block the finding of Gregory Morales, trying to block the finding of Enrique Roman Martinez, block the findings of any of these soldiers that go missing, and that includes our son, Richard Halliday. What a rotten person she is. How can you say that that's any different? Richard is missing. Where is he? Right? And so we wanted to know who this person is that is so rotten, but is actively, daily trying to sabotage the search for our son. What's going on? That's suspicious. And so we have the connections now. We understand. And soon, it has to do with a lawyer. And so we will soon um, reveal all that. We're just, yeah, step by step. This is all so hard to digest that, yeah, step by step. And then, of course, when you have someone like Amber Chase, who was connected with the mortuary affairs when she was in the military, you want to put forth lots of scenarios. You want to, we've been made the chief investigators. So, of course, we're going to investigate. We're going to use these the resources that we have. We don't have $9 million, $6 million, $8 million, and multitude of agencies to help us find our son, right? So we have to use the resources that we do have, and we do, and we use Team Find Richard Halliday. And so I would say that we have something even better. We have the stars in their course, right? We have God on our side, the truth on our side, um, to help us get through this. So we have something even better. And so we have done research on who this person is, because she, said, I want to F your son and film it and send it to you. And, you know, and I've been the one that's harassing you and everything like that, admitting that she, for 3 months daily, is harassing and vile and vulgar. And it's like, who is this person that wants to block the truth from getting out with Vanessa Guillen? Who is this person that wants to block the truth from getting out about Enrique Roman Martinez? Who is this person that wants to block the truth from getting out when it comes to a missing soldier, right? Like Lavina Johnson, her situation. Who wants to block that? Who wants to say horrible things about Asia Graham and doesn't want to look into what happened to her? Who is this kind of person that's like bipolar, that is very unstable, right? But that makes it a mission to thwart and be vile and vulgar and harassing and threatening in trying to find what happened to Richard Halliday. Whether she likes him or not, it doesn't matter. He's an active duty soldier. He's missing. He's been missing for over 3 years, and we need to find him. And anyone that stands in the way is really mentally unstable or is suspect. And so, of course, we've looked in, especially when we've been so kind and with whatever she has said, to just say, let's pray for her. Let's pray for her daughter. And still, it's like, you can judge Richard when you find him. Just find him. We've said that to her too. But there's no communicating with these people. Okay? They're just, there's something more. And there was. And our investigation has been very fruitful. And we know now. And it all makes sense. It makes sense. And so we're going to be releasing that too. And people are going to go, oh, that was exactly our response. Oh, wow, we know now. Same thing with Corinne. And same thing with Chris Martin. Same thing with so many. And we're very grateful for our alliance with those that are inside of Fort Bliss that have provided intel. We're very grateful for that. We're also grateful to Leilani Hard because in many, many of her things, she has given us intel. Now, does that mean that she's not suspect anymore? No, she is. She's so suspect. Okay? She is, front and center suspect. She's a convicted criminal. And they knew about Richard at Park University. And she had unauthorized access to Richard's files. And tampering with Richard's files, tampering with the intelligence, tampering, messing with a missing soldier's case, making it a botched case, having extramarital affairs with a special agent in the CID that's married to another individual, not respecting that other individual, but having an affair. And, so that tells you about the character of the people, um, and manipulating Tavita Nusa while he was then grooming her and coaching her, um, in how to also get her paperwork through and get that CID number, that coveted CID number, the FBI coveted number, case number for the FBI to look into your criminal complaint. That all, and just whatever the motives were. But Richard was hurt by all of that. And he was hurt by all of that before he went missing. I hope everyone understands that this was going on before he was missing. And after too, and the tampering is the cover up. And when you have all these organizations that are in close relationship to one another, and then they just kind of grow together into a criminal syndicate that is hurting our service members, hurting our El Paso community, hurting every American taxpayers that you have to pay. It is so big that they're like, oh, we got to cover this one up because we're going to have generals going down for this. We're going to have GS-14s going down for this, right? And so we got to cover this up. And, you can say, I'm Army forever, right? I'm Army forever. And because you've been abusing the system, because you've been milking the system, because that's why you have this little patriotism, because you're milking the system. But that's not what a real patriot does. That's not what a real soldier does. And that's not what I taught my children, at least. And when Richard got there and saw the fraud, waste, and abuse, he reported the fraud, waste, and abuse. And he was left without recourse because the CID was in on the fraud, waste, and abuse. The military police were in on the fraud, waste, and abuse. The Park University in on the fraud, waste, and abuse. The CPS in on the fraud, waste, and abuse. The CYS in on the fraud, waste, and abuse. The DES in on the fraud, waste, and abuse. The IG in on the fraud, waste, and abuse. The VA in on the fraud, waste, and abuse. The even though they are kind of like a little different entity on Fort Bliss, and so where was he going to go? That's why a congressional inquiry to the representative, in this case, it's Representative Veronica Escobar, because she has oversight of Fort Bliss, is so important for our service members. And, oh yeah, the JAG is in on this, and on the corruption, the fraud, waste, and abuse. The JAG. So that is why this brave soldier that has come forward and has put forth a request for a congressional inquiry is so important, because it has more weight than just a civilian. If I or any other civilian would put in a request for a congressional, it has more weight because a soldier, before they request a congressional inquiry, has to go through their chain of command. And when their chain of command fails them, betrays them, this is their only recourse. Because when you're in the military, You can't just say, "Well, I'm quitting. I'm going. This is bad." No, that would be a crime. So they are then essentially put into a prison um, if they don't have any recourse at all. And so that's why we ask for everyone to sign the petition. We put forth a petition to support this brave soldier that put in a request to Representative Escobar asking for a congressional inquiry on this very, super, really, if there is another soldier on Fort Bliss that could do this, put in a request for a congressional inquiry. If you have met with, you know, just one roadblock after the other through your chain of command, um, maybe you can consider um, adding to your request an inquiry into the VA on Fort Bliss. I think that's very, very important, into the fraud, waste, and abuse at the VA. Because you see, if you're controlling benefits out of the VA to veterans, and you can give and take, right? You can give and take. You have the power to give and take livelihoods from people. This is a huge power. And you can really control a lot of people, and you can shut a lot of people up, or you can make a lot of people talk and do a dance when they want. If you say do the jig or lose your benefits, or do the jig and I'll give you some extra benefits, um, or a social security number, misuse our veterans' identities and information. This is a huge power, and it needs to be looked into. And that's, it's an area that I don't know. We're going to start with just going to the IG and asking them, to look into Richard, the IG for the veterans. So that's really important. Um, and with that, the Department of Justice and the entities that are inside the institutions. I want to make it really clear. It always sounds like I'm bashing the institutions, but I am Christian, and I do talk about the Stars and their course fought against Sisera. But I also have held on to another very important lesson in the Bible, and that is of the old widow, the old poor widow that was maligned, and she went to an unjust judge. She didn't go to a good judge, she went to an unjust judge, right? So the fraud, waste, and abuse judge. Just like we have gone to Park University to plead for help. We have gone to the CID to plead for help. We have gone to the command over and over again to plead for help. Because you see, sometimes we can get so caught up in that cloud, we lose focus on what's important in life. And we do things that we're not real proud of. But then we have epiphanies and we come out of it and we become really strong against the fraud, waste, and abuse, against the corruption. And there's a lot of illustrations in the Bible because of that. Sometimes you can just be annoyed by people wanting justice, and you just do it. Just like the unjust judge. He was just annoyed. Leave me alone. Come on. Okay, I'll give you justice. Leave me alone. So who knows what's going to happen if the support that we're getting is going to grow because they're annoyed, or because they're starting to get an epiphany. They're starting to see what happened in the last years and say, no, no, we cannot go down this road of destruction. We have to get justice for Richard Halliday. We have to have um, standards, right? We have to have standards. Otherwise, why does anybody need us, right? Um, so I think that that is really important, and we just keep going, keep going, keep going, and the truth will win out because lies are unsustainable. And there is reports and reports in the newspaper um, that people are sending me of illustrations of this, right? Where the truth gets out. And it's really getting out in our case. It is really getting out. We have the names, y'all. You know how when there was the soldier that said, Richard just went out the back door or whatever, we're getting those names. Um, finally, finally. Not the proper way, not the way we should get the names. Um, but just because of time, we should have gotten properly when we were in El Paso all those names. We should have been able to meet with them. But we understand now because of the circumstances that was going on at the time and the institutional corruption at the time. And that's why I'm not real easy on Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. We've got to replace him. I mean, I don't even say hold his feet to the fire anymore. This man is a criminal. He's a total criminal. He's a danger to every service member. We need to get him out of that uniform. Get him out of those 3 stars. He's a danger to Fort Cavazos community, to the ex-Fort Hood community. He is a danger to the Killeen area because look what he left in Fort Bliss. A situation where on the base a 14-year-old girl would be living in the barracks being prostituted out. Being prostituted out several times. And look, they had to close up the emergency intake center there. After he left. It closed up under Major General Eisenhower. Not like it should have been closed up under Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe a long time ago because these problems have been going on for a long time. And under Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, you had soldiers being poisoned. So, yeah, he's up to no good. He's up to no good, and I don't understand why they gave him another star. He did not tell us that our son was a whistleblower. He did not tell us that Richard was a student at Park University, even though we had an idea, but he needed to put it together. This is important because Leilani Hart is at Park University, and her son is involved in this, and she is having an extramarital affair with a CID agent that, got reprimanded and lost his badge and everything. What's going on with him? What kind of general is that? It's like, let me get a shovel and put another shovel of dirt on Vanessa Guillen's body, and we'll go shh, shh, shh. Let's, support. We were in meetings with him about Nadal Baim. He knew exactly who he was, and he did not tell us. Shh, he's dead. Shh, and he would not tell us. That man, no, he, he's a criminal. He's worse than a criminal because he's the worst type of criminal. To dress up, to have everything that we have given him, his staff, his home, his job, his duty, his position, his shiny stars, his pressed uniform, his cook, his aides, everything. And he has weaponized his position against the very people that give him that position. And his obligation to care for his soldiers, he just stomped on. He just, yeah. It's terrible. So before he makes that 4th star, I need to make it clear that he's a danger. He's up to no good. He has no good intention, no benevolence towards his duty, America, the soldiers, the people. And it's not just my opinion. We have evidence. We have been victims of his betrayal, his absolute betrayal. And I don't like to be a victim. I don't ever like to be a victim. But we could have our son already. We could have our son already. And yes, do I believe our son has been murdered? Yes. I mean, I'm thinking about the meeting with the canines with Sean Bernabe. And looking at his face, I mean, of course, I'm asking, but his eyes, yeah. What betrayal. He's just, who needs enemies? Who needs enemies when we have a leader like that? And I'm being very kind. I'm not sitting here gossiping. I'm telling you the facts. And I'm not cussing him out. I'm not being vile and vulgar. I'm just telling you the facts. Who needs enemies with a leader like that? And it was a happy day, even though we were still recovering from his abuse when Major General Eisenhower took over Fort Bliss. And we'll see. We'll see what happens, because Major General Eisenhower, we don't know how much he was told, because we know that Brigadier General David Stewart was not briefed properly. Okay, he was not briefed properly at all. And hold on. And that was very clear from that meeting when we first met him. And so with that experience, we would like to know how much General Eisenhower has been briefed. Did he know that Leilani Hart was a convicted criminal? Does he know that she put in that affidavit about a VA employee on Fort Bliss? On Fort Bliss. Does he know about her many relationships? Does he know about her questionable immigration status? Does he know that she failed to report, failed to report, timely report? I think that would be the better way to say it. A failed timely report. And the, just so much involvement in our son's case. The worst kind of involvement. Does he know? And so we have been writing him and writing him and writing him. And so now he has to uh, figure out which side he wants to be on now, the criminal side or the justice side. Absolutely. He has to figure that out now. So, who does he want to align with? What does what is his legacy at Fort Bliss? What will his legacy be at Fort Bliss? And that, you know, so that would be important because these generals, they want their next star, they want their legacy. We want our son. We want our son's remains. We want justice for Richard. That's what we want. So, yeah. So, breaking news. Didn't I put out breaking news this morning? Um, so much has happened, and I think I did. And oh yeah, about Jeff Downey leaving, which is a huge breaking news. And of course, that we have an agency now saying they're looking into Lilani Hart. So yeah, we did. Um, so much going on, and this Shadow Mountain Lakes. That's also something new that has come into, um, has been made, uh, I guess, brought to our attention by the intel. So, yeah, so much to research, but we have to be like that widow, going up to the judge and saying, the unjust judge, I want justice. We want justice. And the more we have saying justice for Richard Halliday, justice for Richard Halliday, we will get justice. And so please write Veronica Escobar. Please write um, Senator Ted Cruz, because he was copied on the congressional inquiry. Please write Major General Eisenhower to side with justice, not with a convicted criminal that has been leaking, that has a history of harassment, that has retaliated against a whistleblower, that's retaliated against a key witness in this case, that is obstructing justice, that's denying due process. Please, God, let him not side with that. Let not that, we don't want that to be his legacy. And so he has to make that choice. And, um, but the truth, the reality is that the truth is going to come out some way, somehow. And so he should side with justice because the truth will come out some way, somehow. And you see that with Chagra family. No one thought the Chagra family could get arrested. But they did for selling drugs to the soldiers on Fort Bliss. And not just drugs, I mean mountains. They had, what were they making, like $1 million a week? $1 million a week? Fentanyl, LSD, and cocaine. Piles of it in his home. No one ever thought, maybe not even him, that he would get caught, and he did. You see? And, that name is very big in that area. So you can see that the ties are weakening. And, um, you know, it's it's clear by now that we have exposed what's happening to Richard, and that the VA is a big part of it. Park University is a big part of it. The DES was a big part of it. The CID is a big part of it. And of course, the civilian world, the AUSAs, the DA, the AG, the Department of Justice, all that. Um, I have it lined out here. Let's see. Um, yeah, all these allocations. Let's start. Okay. Department of State, diplomatic efforts, consular services, legal representation. They're saying for the Department of State it was 1,075,000. And then they broke it up: security measures, communication and outreach, Federal Bureau of Investigations, $2.5 million for that. Um, oh, this is all individual stuff. Okay, I see. So diplomatic efforts was 500,000. Consular services, 150,000. Legal representation, 250,000. Travel and logistics, 100,000. Investigative operations, 1.5 million. Forensic analysis, 600,000. Surveillance and intelligence, legal and administrative support, El Paso Sheriff's Office, investigative personnel, equipment and technology, operational expenses, Sarasota Sheriff's Office, investigative personnel, equipment and technology, operational expenses, coroner's office and mortuary services, autopsy and forensic analysis, transportation and handling of remains, administrative and supportive services, Department of Defense, Fort Bliss Command, Criminal Investigative Division, legal support, security and base operations, foreign governments and diplomatic missions, international cooperation and support, consular services for U.S. citizens abroad, diplomatic channels and communications, non-governmental organizations, legal assistance and advocacy, victims and family support service. That was 100,000. Public awareness and advocacy campaigns. That was 50,000. Private contributions, donations and contributions from individuals and organizations. Oh, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, 100,000. Investigative support and resources, Department of Homeland Security, Border and Security and Intelligence, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Border Surveillance and Support, U.S. Marshal Service, Fugitive Apprehension and Investigation, DES at Fort Bliss, Security and Law Enforcement. Grand total, wowzer, millions, y'all, millions. And it goes on because now it added Park University and what support they were given. Department of Veterans Affairs. Department of Veterans Affairs is kind of like a separate entity. But anyway, so yeah, this was huge. Huge, because they didn't want another Guillen situation. Yeah. So thank you for sticking with us so much. And soon, we have to verify things, verify names especially. And, as we verify them, making sure that they do work at certain places, then we will put that out there. And yeah, Also about the GPS, the tracking. Um, that has to be verified. I mean, we are working on so many fronts, y'all. And so I'm very grateful that y'all have kept with us way over 3 years, because we also, have a life too, that we have to maintain, uh, you know, a home and everything. Um, and so we're so grateful, um, for your patience. And we don't want to let you down. We don't want to let our service members down. We don't want to let, all those that have given to us down. We want to find Richard, find Richard Halliday. That is our goal. And thank you for your prayers. Thank you so much for, um, all the information. Please keep sending it because we're very appreciative for all the leads that you have given us. Okay, thank you, everyone. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.